Good evening. The opinions and statements voiced by our guests do not necessarily reflect the opinions of this network. Enjoy the shows.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army. Army officers say the missile, found sometime last week, has been inspected at Roswell, New Mexico, and sent to Wright Field, Ohio, for further inspection.
Now, historic films made in the spring of 1948 and just released show Eniwetok preparing for heavily guarded and still largely secret tests of new atomic weapons. The test's purpose is to measure atomic effects on thousands of different materials, 30,000 tons of them, not, as at Bikini, to prove military effectiveness.
San Francisco police say that 9 persons have been arrested in a narcotics raid on the headquarters of the Grateful Dead, a widely popular singing group. 2 members of the group, Rod McKernan and Robert Weir, and their business manager, Danny Rifkin, have been booked on suspicion of possessing narcotics.
3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes past the hour. Liftoff on Apollo 11. Tower cleared.
We got a roll program.
Neil Armstrong reporting the roll and pitch program, which puts Apollo 11 on a proper heading.
I'm going to step off the limb now. That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Well, strange lights are causing a viral buzz on YouTube. Could we have caught extraterrestrial activity on a recent newscast? Brandon Arroyo investigates.
As the newscast ended, the controversy began back on September 26th. What is that light shining in the back of the dark night sky?
With coverage reaching all the way back to 1948, for over 70 years, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Now, Fate Magazine Radio is carrying on that tradition of setting the standard in paranormal talk radio as we report and discuss some of the most mysterious and perplexing phenomena imaginable in this strange world of ours. Now, here is your host of Fate Magazine Radio, Kat Hobson.
Good evening. Welcome to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine. I'm Kat Hobson, your absentee host. I apologize. I was traveling, and none of my electronics did any of the things that they said they were going to do. But I'm back, and I am here. I have my guest, Kat Baldwin, and, I am just really looking forward to this conversation. The last time Kat was on, we had such a great time that we just decided we were nowhere near finished with our conversation. So we're continuing that. And, Kat, I am so glad that you're here. I am looking forward to talking some more about the forgiveness workshop, because I think that is so important. When you can stop blaming others for your life circumstance and become the person that you are in your own right, that is so liberating.
Absolutely.
And you teach that.
Sure do, along with a lot of other stuff.
Along with a lot of other stuff. But that was one of the things, because I have, I spent my time in that world where nothing was my fault, because I had an alcoholic stepdad and a mom that didn't, do a lot of defending against that.
Yep.
So that couldn't possibly be on me, right?
Absolutely. Same with me.
So, you know, and
Yep.
it was all about how I experienced that and how I didn't develop myself enough because I was locked in anger.
Yep.
I didn't develop myself enough to be able to get to that forgiveness point.
Yeah, it's not easy to do though, Kat. You know, when you've been deeply hurt, especially in a childhood in that type of an environment, that sets you up for all kinds of triggers and all kinds of bad choices throughout your, you know, young adult life until you finally awaken and go, wait a minute here, you know, something's not right here. This isn't what life is supposed to be like, and I got to start taking responsibility for me, and you know what I'm saying? Until you get to
I
that
lived
point,
that.
you got to get to that point personally before you can even think about getting out of victimhood and taking responsibility for yourself. And some people will hang on to that crap till the day they die.
Absolutely. I've seen that happen.
Because they don't want to take responsibility for their lives and the way their lives are turning out, which they are self-manifesting because of not only the anger they're holding, but also their expectation of life because of their experience in life. Okay, so a lot of people grow up with difficult circumstances, and that's deeply rooted, and they think, you know what, life sucks and everything sucks, and it's everybody else's fault. So they just
everybody else's fault.
Yeah, they just continue to manifest, because basically when you think that way, the universe will deliver for you the justification for how you're feeling because you're manifesting it. So to get to the point of being able to take a spiritual view of your life is you know, I get people that look at me like I got two heads, and I'm like, look, dudes, I'm telling you, this is the truth. Channeled it. I'm telling you, it's the truth. It's not who you are. It's the life lessons you chose to have here before you came here, and the blueprint you created. That your soul group, whoever's around you, whether it's who acted as your parents in this lifetime, or your husband, or your ex-husband, or whatever. Okay, everybody agreed to play their role in this little play when you came down here in this lifetime because you asked them to. And you asked them because you had lessons to learn, and they agreed to it. And when I can get people to really understand, I mean, let's you and I think about our stepfathers, okay? If we went as we were creating our soul's plan before we came here, right? And our stepdads are in our soul group. And we asked our stepfathers, our soon-to-be stepfathers in this lifetime, you know, would you be an alcoholic when we returned to Earth so that I could learn, you know, responsibility, or so that I could learn what addiction looks like and how destructive it is and what causes it and what are the deep-rooted triggers of addiction. I tell people, look, you need to realize the level of love that soul had for you, that they agreed to do that for you. Because you and I need to look at how difficult it is, and it was, for our stepfathers to be alcoholics and to live that kind of life. Okay? What if we asked them to do that for us? And I'm sure it was part of their soul lessons too. There was something about being an addict that they wanted to learn as well, right?
Well, it just seems that that's the case. But, you know, when you look back at these things, because he had a great career, he worked with NASA, he was in the control room for a launch that didn't happen. And, you know, he did all kinds of things professionally. He was genius.
Yep.
But he couldn't maintain because he was an addict.
Yep.
Or an addict behavior, even if he wasn't fully addicted at that point.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. I mean, and I can't fathom, myself sitting here right this minute, can understand it. Myself at 15, 16, 17 could not comprehend why this monster was in my life.
Yep.
And it's definitely something that gives you pause, right?
Absolutely.
Until you get it.
Yep. Until you get it. I mean, I looked at my mom, and my mother had a horrendous life, and both my parents are gone. My stepfather's been dead for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
But I looked at my mother's life, and my father, my biological father, left her when I was only like 4. My sister was 9. My mother hadn't worked for 17 years because she was a stay-home mother. That's what they did back then. And he was running around behind her back. And so the backlash of all of that on me, you know, of not understanding when my dad walks out, and nobody tells a 4-year-old what's going on, right?
Of course, yeah.
So a year later, my mother marries this man. We move out to the suburbs, and she marries this man that's an alcoholic. And what do I know? I'm 4. You know, and within a short period of time, he's yelling and screaming and drunk, you know, 20 out of 25 years of their marriage, and keeping her up till 2 in the morning, and she'd get up at 5:30 every day and go to work full time. And, you know, I look at my mom, and it's like, wow, okay. What came to me one day was I really had an awakening, and it's like my mother sacrificed herself for my sister and I, for what she felt would be a better life for us, moving out into the suburbs, giving us good education, because she was fearful that she couldn't do it on her own as a woman. And that was the 60s and the 70s, right? So my mother sacrificed her own well-being and her peace, thinking that what she was doing was giving my sister and I a better opportunity for better education and a better life.
Absolutely.
Now, how can I possibly have ever been upset with her? You know, when you're young, you're ticked at your ma. You know, you're like, why the hell don't you leave? I don't understand why you put up with this. How could you do this? How could you put us through this? Right? Because you're coming from a point of ego. And at that age, you don't know crap. And it's like when you start getting older and having life experiences and you step back and you look at, you have kids, I mean, you look at the love of a mother who would do anything for their children. And you're like, oh my God, I can't, you know, how could I not? And I acknowledged her for that, you know, many years before she died. I said, I know what you did, and thank you. I appreciate it. I understand that you did that because you felt we would be better provided for if you married this man. And I'm sorry that you had to live like this. You know, it wasn't just us, right? It was our mothers too.
Absolutely.
So, you know, when you can really, really get past the ego, that's why Forgiveness's workshop is called From Higher Self Spirit. This is not an ego level of forgiveness. This is your I am presence. This is your very essence of saying, I'm taking responsibility. These are the lessons I asked for. I'm no longer blaming anyone else. They did what I asked them to do because of who they were in my life. You know, what has that provided for me, right? It's not what they did to me. It's what they did for me. And trust me, I have a lot of people that really, really give me a look when I tell them that. And I'm like, look, if you want to sit here and come from your ego and you want to stay at this level in your life, then you don't belong in this workshop. If you truly want freedom, if you truly want to step into your true essence of who you are, which is spirit and a physical body, not a physical body trying to be spiritual, then
I love that you clarified that.
Then you take responsibility, period. You take responsibility. You no longer blame other people. You look at everyone and you have to back up the truck and say, okay, what has this person done for me? Well, you know, because of my dad leaving, I became extremely independent. because of who my mother was, I became extremely independent. I'm an extremely strong person. I have lived my entire life outside the box. If you told me to go left, I'd go right because I am not a conformist. I don't believe in authority. That is my I am presence. That is my true spirit. And if I did not have my mom being the way my mom was, because my mom was a strict button down Catholic that was the first generation Polish American here. So imagine, she was very conservative. You know, and when I tell her about my experiences, or I tell her, Mom, I'm going to start doing healing and energy work, and you can just imagine the look on her face, right? But it was her constantly butting heads with me and trying to get me, push me into that box of conformity that has me be who I am today, because I refuse to be pushed into that box. So that obviously that's what I must have asked her to do before we came here.
Mm-hmm.
And she did a really good job at it, believe me.
Well, I will tell you that I was so rebellious.
Yeah.
That there was no box I was going to fit in.
Nope.
And that was by choice as well as by personality.
Yeah.
And I simply, because trying to conform had not done me any good.
Yep.
You know, it didn't allow me to have the life that I wanted. I was always in trouble for things that really weren't things one should get in trouble for.
Yeah.
You know, because you know that alcoholics aren't reasonable.
Yep.
So, you know, if you've ever lived with one, or I'm assuming if you've ever been one, you understand that you are not a reasonable person and you're not having the best thoughts for future endeavors, you know, because you have priorities that are not aligned with that. But it was so odd to me that things come full circle, because, you know, my mom passed in March, and we had been estranged for a large part of our lives, and I wound up being her person unexpectedly, by default, because the person who was supposed to be her person has Alzheimer's and was not able to do things, and, you know, and things had to be done. And I was like, I don't even have power of attorney here. I don't have any, you know, I don't have anything to say that I am her person. And it was so odd looking back, because I still don't know how that happened, but I think that was the end of our contract.
Yeah.
That I would be with her at the end.
Oh, for sure.
Because it was so scary to her.
Yeah.
And, you know, so I don't know what happened to the contract she had with her cousin. It just went out the window. But it was such an odd experience, because I was the one who, and I'm not that nurturing. I mean, we were all surprised that the children grew and did as well as they did, because I couldn't even raise plants, right? I killed mother-in-law tongue. So it was really weird that I was the one who was her final nurturer. It just seemed so out of context. And I'm so glad that I was, though.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I mean, that was perfect.
Were you able to maybe clear things between the two of you and patch things up? And
I found that they already were.
Okay.
Because nothing that was happening in that time frame was as important as helping her through that time frame.
Absolutely. See that?
You know, there was no animosity. There was no nothing except the love and the the trying to use my skill in healing to help her peace of mind.
Yep. And that's all that mattered.
And that's why I was there.
Wow, that's awesome.
So
isn't it funny how certain circumstances that we're put inside of puts things in much different perspectives,
absolutely,
as what's important and what's not important. And usually when we stay angry with somebody, it's definitely a lot of the issues that we have, and everybody, I think, is awakening out of this between the third dimensional energy and the current fourth and fifth dimensional energy. Everything is programming. We have been so programmed with social conformity, of expectations, of when things are said to us as children, or something occurs, or it's all ego-based, and it's certainly not a higher level of living. And then as you get older and you start working on your junk and you start looking at things from a different perspective, and it's like, wow, I was so influenced, and we all are, believe me, we're all influenced by everything that happens. It's such heavy duty programming here. It's not even funny. TV shows. Let's think about it. As young women, if you weren't in a size 3 and look a certain way and have certain amounts of money, and the pressure that's put on a person from social conformity, and that was done purposely, by the way, thousands of years ago.
Okay, I'm going to need you to explain that, but first we have to take a quick break.
Okay.
So we'll be back to social conformity.
Yeah.
And y'all come back with us.
Warning, the following message does not necessarily reflect the views of WBHM-DB or its hosts, guests, listeners, or of any functioning adult in general. In fact, Frank should probably seek professional help. Listener discretion is advised.
Hi there, Frank Lee here. I thought that I would spend a few moments telling you about the positivity from the network here. The overall message of para-unity and happiness, and how everyone here wants to get along with everyone out there, and how everything is just wonderful. Wait, Cat's not looking. Okay, I've got something to really tell you. Okay, so I'm going to tell you what's really going on. Honestly, all that being nice and positive crap was kind of hurting my soul, as dark as it is. So, what's really happening? Well, you see it all the time. Everybody and their brother out there has a paranormal team because they watched a couple of episodes of Ghost Hunters or some crap like that. So they go and they spend half their mortgage payment on tools and things that light up that they don't understand. And then the next logical step, after buying matching black t-shirts and posing like 90s rappers for their Facebook page, is to, of course, have their own podcast. Well, you know what? You're not going to find that crap here. What we have here at WBHM Digital Broadcasting is the best host, the best guest, bringing you real information. All of the hosts here on this network know their stuff. They are the people who have been out there doing the work, doing actual research. And no, by research, I don't mean binge watching some kind of cheesy TV show on Netflix. I mean reading books. I mean out in the field doing the legwork. And who are they interviewing on their shows? They're bringing you the people they have learned from. They're bringing you the best in the field, covering all kinds of topics, from UFOs and aliens to Bigfoot to cryptozoology to ghosts to anything you can think of a bit strange and unexplained, it is here, and you're going to get the best information here. So stay tuned to WBHM Digital Broadcasting. Don't go anywhere. Speaking of going somewhere, I've got to go before my mic gets cut. We'll see you there on WBHM-DB.
Welcome back to Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate Magazine, which, by the way, if you have not checked out fatemag.com, you need to. The subscriptions are available there. Old issues are available there. And, in fact, some of the hardest to get issues are available there, so you can complete your collection. So just check that out. Tonight, I am having the best time with Kat Baldwin because we have a lot of similar life experience, and we were sharing some of that and discussing that, and I am shooting it back to you because I had to interrupt you. My apologies.
Oh, no problem. I just hope I can, and you know how this goes, okay? When I talk with somebody, I do spirit, comes in and channels so much through me, and sometimes they'll totally change the subject we were talking about, but they were trying. Yeah, it just is, because that we just go with wherever it goes, right? I mean, we don't have so everybody knows, we don't have some conformity schedule, you and I, that we have to talk a certain way or about a certain thing, or, because that totally limits the possibility of where you can go in a conversation, right? So we were talking about social agreement and social conformity, okay? So we got to realize, especially people in our age range, we had parents that survived a lot of trauma, most of them, and the world wars and the Depression, and parents that were in survival mode and taught them how to be experts at survival. So of course, for us to have any expectation around them being these lovey-dovey, smoochy-woochy parents, it was next to impossible for them to give us something they weren't even familiar with, number one, okay? But they were raised in a generation of, and I still have a great deal of respect, and I still am extremely appreciative of their generation, because my mother made me an extremely responsible person, somebody who I am not under any circumstances going to do anything that's going to compromise my personal integrity. I will never do it. I have people that are on my butt all the time. Why aren't you on YouTube? Why aren't you? And I'm like, look, I'm not like everybody else. That is a whole different energy on that side. I mean, we have like two dimensions going on at one time here. That side and that activity and that behavior and that way of being, so that you can get attention around what it is that you have to convey. I'm sorry, that's out of integrity for me. It's just what you and I were talking about. Yes. Our entire lives, we have been rebellious. Our entire lives, when somebody told us, do A, we did B. Because truly what's happening is you and I have always been more in touch with our souls and our true essence than most people, okay? You and I tried to be conformed to, like, social agreement as far as, have friends, do things a certain way, be kind, do this, do that, because that's what our parents taught us, right? But it never worked for us, okay?
Not well.
No, not well at all, okay?
Not well at all.
No.
It's difficult to be who you're not.
Yeah. So I think that, there's some of us on this planet that have held on to, even though we might have been unaware of it, our higher essence from the very beginning, because there was something within you and I from the time we were children that just did not resonate with everybody else. We didn't conform like everybody else. We weren't easily influenced by other people or authority figures or what, do this, do that. You should get good grades. You should be blah, blah. So I think there's some of us on this planet, and I call us humanoids. There's humans and there's humanoids. There's some of us on this planet that have just been really connected to our higher selves and our essences from the very beginning, even though we tried it the other way. We tried it the other way, okay? We tried it the way that our parents wanted us to do it because, what ran in our background was, I'm never good enough. It's never going to be enough. That ran in my background most of my childhood and into my early 20s.
Well,
until I finally...
Mine was, I was an only child, an only grandchild for 7 years. And, so, and my dad at one point was the manager of the Sears and Roebuck toy department in our local store. So I had dump trucks and Madame Alexander dolls, And so, during that time frame, it was definitely not a hardship to be me. Although my parents were having problems, I didn't understand what they were.
Yeah.
And so I didn't react outright to that at that time. When my sister came, I was excited because she was my baby. Right?
Yeah.
And I didn't realize until very few years ago that she felt that I resented her. And I just looked at her and I was like, no. I mean, you were mine. I waited forever to have a brother or sister. Because why not? Everybody else did. I wanted that too. But she spent her entire life feeling like I resented and hated her. So to me, that was quite a self-narrative that she built up.
Yes.
That explains a lot about how she grew, about who she is.
Yep.
And her lack of understanding me just stunned me.
Yeah.
Because of course I started school once she, after she was born, and that was my first year of first grade. But I didn't have many years of first grade, but I mean I had been in kindergarten and then started real school in first grade.
Yeah.
And so I wasn't home, so she still got her share of one-on-one time, and I mean it was perfectly timed, I thought, but she never felt that.
Wow.
I thought that was so sad when she told me that, but that was what she perceived.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was her perception, but a lot of times our perceptions of ourselves come from outside of ourselves, okay? Until we get a handle on who we really are and we do our lessons, we do our work, and we step away from the ego. The only guidance that we have throughout our lifetime, most of our lifetimes in the most formative years, are the people outside of us, right? Mm-hmm. It's our parents, it's our teachers, it's our friends, it's what bullies say to us, it's what people, with high school. I went to a very affluent high school, and I was a middle-class kid that was dealing with this crazy environment of screaming till 2 a.m, and I was so far advanced maturity-wise by the time I got to high school that when I got into high school with these rich kids who had no clue what life was about. And if they broke a nail, you know, it was a big dilemma. I really couldn't understand it. You know, I was too far past all of that and what I had to be responsible for. And I started working when I was 12. Okay. So your perceptions, though, it's funny that your perceptions of yourself, until you finally awaken to who you truly are and start doing the work to heal those perceptions, come totally from outside of you. This is what I'm talking about: social agreement, yes. Social conformity, what other people say you're supposed to look like, be like, act like, what your parents, their expectations of you, you know. And if you don't follow through on the social expectations, and that still very strongly exists here, until you wake the hell up out of that and say, no, that is not who I am. That is not what's important. My perception of me comes from inside of me and who I am, and stepping into my higher self and my I am presence and my spirit body. You got to do the work behind that to get to that point. Otherwise, you're going to stay in a life of blame, like we said, and finger pointing and social agreement and conformity and constant seeking outside of yourself for validation, for acceptance, and you and I and anybody that's on a spiritual path knows that does not work. Okay.
No.
The seeking is never going to work. The fancy car and the big house and the big bank account and how your hair looks is never going to fill that void, because you can only fill it. It's not
because
possible.
They're superfluous. They are not things that feed the spiritual.
Exactly. It's not who you are. And these are the lessons of being on this planet. Now, here's the deal. All of us that are here on Earth chose this planet because it is the only planet in the universe that's a planet of duality. Good and bad, black and white, love and hate. This doesn't go on anywhere else in the cosmos. Only here. Okay? This planet, because this planet, she agreed from the very beginning of evolution that she would be the master teacher school planet for everybody to come down and learn their lesson. And she compromised her own vibrational frequency and her own chakra system and her own, all of her resources for all the humans on this planet to learn their lessons and to pursue their true essence. Okay, so she has compromised herself for eons for humanity, right?
Well, they're not doing a very good job of appreciating that.
Well, that's all coming to an end because, you know, the planet is ascending. It's been ascending since 2012, and it's basically her going up into 5D and 7th dimensional and above frequency, because that is where the rest of the planets in the cosmos are at. She is the only one that is that extremely high density and that heavy frequency. So we finally decided, you know what, it's time for the golden age, another golden age on this planet. And this is the last time she's going through this. And those that would not be in alignment with honoring her will be removed from this planet. And it's basically, you know what, everybody on board. That's why everybody was woken up in the last 2 years about the reality of what goes on here. But, you know, part of that awakening is forgiveness too, because if people really would be straight with me about what they're seeing and the level of corruption and the level of manipulation and lies and control that is put upon people through fear and ignorance, and they awaken to that, and they're like so angry, right? They're so angry.
Yes.
And I tell people, look, here's the deal. Number one, take responsibility. You agreed to it. You agreed to come down here. The planet needs you at this time. You knew what was going on. You knew we were going to start going through a golden age process. You wanted to participate. So you agreed to all of this, all the lies, all the fear, all the manipulation, all the ignorance, everything that was put upon the people on this planet. You agreed to it. But the other reason you agreed to it is so that you could learn your lessons and clear all that karma and all that past life and multidimensional life crap in this lifetime and finally heal and step up into that higher frequency in the essence of who you are so that you can be part of the golden age, okay? So when people get angry about it, I'm like, hey, be excited. You agreed to it. We're going to make this happen. It's going to be an amazing thing. It's going to take us some time. But, you know, look at all that you have been exposed to and don't be influenced by that anymore. And you've got to look at it and you've got to forgive. You've got to forgive that behavior because all of that control and manipulation and social norm and social agreement and all this other garbage that we agreed to, in essence, all our life lessons and all the experience we've been through is what has made us who we are and also made us pursue who we are, our real selves, okay? It puts you on a path of discovery of who you really are. Unless you want to continue to stay in the ego and be deeply rooted in all that stuff, okay?
No, not so much.
And that's okay, you know, and I've had to come to a realization that, you know, I have to agree or not agree, I have to be deeply accepting. I've made a commitment to work on being deeply accepting of people who are choosing to stay in that ignorance, people who are choosing to stay in the third dimensional frequency and not step into who they are. Because unless I embrace them, you know, I'm not here to disseminate the darkness. I'm here to embrace it because all of us have it. We all have darkness. We all have struggles of trying to come out of that programming.
Well, it's the yin and the yang.
Correct.
I mean,
right? We all have it.
But
we all have a dark side.
But I have to interrupt you again. I'm so
Okay.
sorry.
No problem.
But we've got to run for, and this is a shorter break, so we will be right back.
Okay.
And for everyone listening, this is pretty interesting stuff, and I hope you're enjoying it. Get in chat with your questions or your comments, and we'll see you back after this break.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio. broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back. I am so glad that y'all are joining us tonight, and I do see our listeners. If you would like to come into the chat room with any questions you may have, you're welcome to. You know, if you don't want to ask your questions, that's okay. I'm just glad that you're here listening and enjoying the program. But this is a great opportunity, and Kat Baldwin is somebody that I enjoy a lot. So, Kat, I interrupted you. We were talking about darkness, which everyone does have that side to them. There's always
Absolutely.
a yin and a yang.
Yep. Absolutely.
And I interrupted you with your thought process on that.
You know what it is, too? A lot of times in spiritual circles, and I had to totally straighten out my spiritual community because Jesus came in and had a conversation with me about 6 months ago. Usually in spiritual circles, what they teach is, to fill yourself, if you're on a spiritual path or you do energy work, you fill your body with light and send that light out to disseminate or destroy the darkness, right? There's a lot of darkness on this planet.
There is.
I mean, it is dissipating.
There's just so much anger.
Yeah. And that's part of forgiveness, okay? Again, if people that are stuck in that anger would forgive and understand that everything's in divine order and everything is okay, all right? Everything's okay. Breathe. Everything's fine. Everything is in divine order. Everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. Take responsibility. Contribute, what you can. Then that anger would dissipate, okay? Because again, what they're doing, they're coming from what people have done to them, what's been done to me. That's why people get angry. If you shift that and say, okay, what has been done for me, and look at everything that goes down and everything that we find out and all the corruption and all the stuff and the stuff that comes through, and you pose it to yourself that way. How is this, what is being done for me? And look at whatever you uncover in that respect, you won't have that anger, okay? Because when you awaken to that and realize, you should be thrilled. I mean, you should be like, whoa, okay, I got it. That's what's been going on. Okay. Well, I'm not going to participate in that anymore. I'm going to walk on this path, right? But here's the deal. Jesus said to me one afternoon, he goes, look, the only way that this is really going to be as effective as it possibly needs to be is you need to understand and tell your community, when you guys are running energy and you're all light workers and you're holding that frequency for the planet, you need to embrace the darkness. He said the darkness is not your enemy because you are all darkness. And if you have not been darkness in this lifetime, trust me, you've been darkness in other lifetimes. He said, so if you don't embrace that darkness with love, as much as you embrace that light, you're not embracing yourself. And I'm like, oh, cool. That totally makes sense. I got it. So after that, I talk to everybody. I go, do you guys get this? And they're like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Okay.
Absolutely.
So, from that point forward, we embrace the darkness. We don't try and destroy it, or we don't try and, no, it's just, it is what it is, and we all have it, and send it love and light, and embrace it. And there's people that will come out of that darkness and into the light, and there's people that won't. And it's just, it's their personal journey. It's what they're choosing. This is what they wanted.
It's a conscious choice too.
Absolutely.
It's not like you're trapped and being held hostage on either side of that decision.
No. But unless they forgive and unless they're willing to see what is being offered and what is being presented instead of from a self-righteous aspect, they're going to lose the opportunity for that growth. And they will stay. They will stay in that low frequency. They will stay in the anger and the bitterness and the hatred and the separation that's been perpetrated on this planet between people. And we are, we're at work trying to bypass all that. Not bypass it, but transmute that. Yes. Transmute that garbage. Okay? There is no separation. That's another thing that's been perpetrated here. There's no separation.
Yeah, conquer and divide.
Yeah.
Divide and conquer.
Absolutely. Okay? There is no separation. So think about if 7 billion people, who are all awake consciously, because it's happened over the last 2 years, are finally saying, you know what, this ain't right here, and we need to make it right. Everybody needs to be honored. Everybody needs to be acknowledged and respected. We need to support each other. We need to, there is no separation. Let's be sure this one has enough food. Let's be sure this one has a roof over their heads. And yeah, that's where we're heading. It's just going to take us some time. Well, and when I told,
go ahead.
When I told somebody, one of the people that I work on, I was telling her about this, and she's like, well, that sounds like, socialism to me. And I'm like, you're in your ego. You're in your ego again.
Deeply.
Yeah.
Well, when you present it as there's plenty here for everyone.
Absolutely.
People just kind of look askance at you like she did. But
yep.
It's so true because I have issues sometimes because, to me, what happened at Fukushima was an extinction event. Mm-hmm. And I have a hard time pulling my mind back from that. And so all I have to do really, though, is start looking around at all of the love and positivity that is not being reported because it's no use as a control factor.
Exactly.
And, there's a lot of wonderfulness that happens in this world every day.
Yep.
And,
absolutely.
The attention that's put on the negative and the attitudes that form from that is powerful.
Yep.
But it is not as powerful as the light.
Absolutely not.
And, when you can share the light, then you're sharing everything. And, putting light on it brings attention to both good and bad. And when you can expose the design for the bad, then it gives you a lot of more hope for the good.
Absolutely.
If that makes sense.
It does. Because, so much of this is perpetrated for the continued keeping people in fear and ignorance for control factors and control purposes of, let's line the pockets of people that are already multi-billionaires and this is what has to change. But they got to be willing to see that, and they've got to be willing and open to embracing all of it, of seeing that we're intentionally being separated and being told things to cause separation and anger and hostility, and choose not to participate.
The angst and fear that comes from that.
Excellent. Fear is the biggest thing that they use to instill in people.
It's a powerful tool.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
and
that's
it's all programming.
It's a tool.
It's programming. That's all it is.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's disgusting, but it is what it is, and you have to, get to a level of consciousness to recognize when it's going on, So you can see it, and you cannot be drawn into that control over your life, because that's basically what has happened. When they instill that fear, they are controlling people's lives, because people will limit what they're doing, and they will lash out at those that have a different opinion of what they're doing. And then they'll use the media to pit us against each other about who's doing this and who's doing that. And if you're not doing that, you're wrong. And this is what I was saying when we started talking. It's the deepest acceptance. You got a different opinion? Okay, cool. That's all right. I can hear that. I can honor that. I can hear it. If you will hear me too. And, if we get to that point, we'll be able to sit down at a table of people that are totally not in agreement with each other and come to some resolution that works for everybody. It's that simple. We're all adults. I think we could sit down and let's talk about, what's affecting you socially and what's your ideas from your experience, and let's do some research about this. And come on, people, come on. We can clean up all of this. There's no doubt in my mind, and we will. It's just going to take a while. But go ahead.
It's the time right now is, I feel like the time is of the essence.
Oh, absolutely.
Because we have got to knock down some of this negativity.
Yep.
And it's really powerful. And the fact that it's been allowed to just grow rampantly is frustrating because it's hard to fight it. And at some point we will be able to, but it's just part of a collective process.
Yeah, we've got to get to that tipping point, right?
Right.
A collective, I suppose.
I'm not much sure that I like where the tipping point will be.
Well, I think we're close.
I think we're close too.
To the tipping point. But it's a positive tipping point.
Well, it will be.
Yeah. I think we're real close. But again, if you're somebody that participates in watching the news, and please, I would beg anybody who's on here, don't do that. Don't watch the news. Don't listen to the radio. Don't do that to yourself.
Stay on music channels.
Yeah. Live your life the way you want to live your life. Do not allow anything to get in the way of that, because that is what they want to do, is to get in the way of you living your life. And it's your choice, okay?
Every day.
You can choose to be enrolled in that garbage and conversation that comes out of that television, or you could choose to totally turn it off, wake up and say, who am I going to be today, and who can I be in the world today, and what can I contribute to the planet today, and go about your day and do it, okay? Or you can live in fear and be constricted and close down your light and be a little tiny flame when you're actually a big, humongous bonfire the size of Australia, okay? Because that's really what we are. We're huge. We're huge light. We're huge energy. We're unlimited energy. It doesn't end. It has no borders. Each individual is just, to infinity and beyond, as they say in Buzz Lightyear.
My hero.
That's who we are. That's who we are.
Well, it is who we are. And, it's really funny to me because so many people try to inhibit that. And it's like you were talking about, what you expose yourself to is your reality.
Absolutely.
And if you choose to alter that reality, because I used to be a huge news fan. I just loved reading newspapers. I loved watching different channels to see what everybody's opinion were. And then I thought, why do I care what their opinion is? Mine's the only one that matters in my world.
Right.
And so and it was a weaning process. It was terrible. But now that I've done it, I feel so much better. And I didn't even miss it for my trip the whole time I was over there. Nobody seemed to have anything on other than sports, no matter where you went. It was awesome. 'Cause I didn't know most of their sports. So,
awesome.
It was awesome. But we are at the top of the hour. Where does the time go when we talk? That's what I want to know. There is a rabbit hole somewhere with all of our time.
Yeah, we go down the rabbit hole.
We do, but we have a good time there.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we will be back. This is our top of the hour. Speaking of news break. I kind of feel like I'm obligated to do that, but I don't know why they make this be what they want. So I'm looking into an alternative. But anyway, this is NPR, and if anybody's going to tell you the news, then they at least have fantastic voices and make it interesting. I should have such enunciation. And we will be back after this news break. So just come on back, and I always try to listen to this because I'm looking for good news. I'm always looking for somebody to report it, and I'm ever hopeful. So we'll see you on the flip side. Thanks for being here. Be sure you come back.
Live from NPR News in Washington, I'm Louise Schiavone. President Biden is feeling better 4 days after his COVID diagnosis. As NPR's Tamara Keith reports, the president's doctor says Biden is still taking Paxlovid.
Dr. Kevin O'Connor writes in his daily update on Biden's condition that the president's symptoms continue to improve significantly, with a sore throat now being his primary complaint. O'Connor says that is likely an encouraging sign of lymphoid activity as the president's body clears the virus. The runny nose, cough, and body aches are much better, though Biden's doctor says the president's voice is still hoarse. Biden's lungs are clear. His pulse and blood oxygen saturation are all, quote, excellent on room air. The plan is that Biden will isolate at least until Tuesday, but will wait until he has a negative result on a rapid antigen test before returning to travel and in-person meetings. Tamara Keith, NPR News.
Pope Francis is in Edmonton, Canada today, where he'll apologize for the Catholic Church's role in the abuse of Indigenous children at residential schools operated by the Church. Emma Jacobs has details.
The Catholic Church ran residential schools for Indigenous children in Canada for more than a century, right up until the 1990s. These institutions became notorious as sites of neglect and physical and sexual abuse by clergy and other staff. Chief of Alexander First Nation, George Arcan Jr., said the in-person apology represents a way forward on Indigenous people's road to healing.
They have been carrying unimaginable trauma for many generations. For many, the acknowledgement of this pain and is an important step towards reconciliation.
The Pope will meet with Indigenous communities and residential school survivors across the country before returning to Rome on Friday. For NPR News, I'm Emma Jacobs in Edmonton.
More than 1,000 migrants have been rescued off the southern coast of Italy. 5 bodies were recovered. Adam Rainey reports.
Italy's Coast Guard announced the discovery of the bodies and the rescue of the largest group of migrants, nearly 700. Most were found Saturday on a fishing boat. More than 400 other migrants were also rescued Saturday by the German NGO Sea-Watch, according to a statement from the group on Twitter. Italy's foreign ministry reports asylum cases and migrant arrivals are up by more than 30% this year compared to last year. Spain, Greece, Italy, and other countries in southern Europe expect more than 150,000 migrant arrivals this year from Africa and the Middle East, in part due to food shortages caused by the war in Ukraine. For NPR News, I'm Adam Rainey in Punta Ala, Italy.
17 bodies were recovered off the coast of the Bahamas today after their boat capsized. Officials there say they were migrants from Haiti. 25 people were rescued. This is NPR News in Washington. There are major travel backups in Europe and the UK. Authorities at Britain's largest passenger port are warning travelers they should expect long delays for a third day as immigrant checks by French officials are being blamed for the backups during one of the summer season's busiest vacation weekends. Details from Villa Marks.
Thousands of trucks continue to block a major highway near Dover Port as drivers await paperwork, forcing passenger cars onto small local roads where waiting times for ferries to France have topped 20 hours. Local authorities label this a, quote, major incident, while UK and French officials continue trading blame over the causes of the current passport control checks chaos.
Villa Marks reporting from London. Allyson Felix took a curtain call at the World Track and Field Championships last night. Tom Bonsi of the Northwest News Network reports from Eugene, Oregon.
The most decorated sprinter in U.S. history took one more final bow on the world stage, but not before getting in position to collect one more medal. Allison Felix ran a fast second leg during qualifying in the women's 4x400-meter relay at the World Track and Field Championships in Oregon.
Just really special. It's so nice for us to come and run here at home, and for my last experience, I'm really having fun.
The 36-year-old Felix is not expected to run in the relay finals tonight, but if her U.S. teammates win a medal, Felix will get one too. She'll coast into retirement with a U.S. track and field record 11 Olympic medals and 20 World Championships medals. For NPR News, I'm Tom Bonsi in Eugene.
I'm Louise Schiavone, NPR News, Washington.
We get it. You're obsessed with us. If you want to make NPR your entire personality, head over to the NPR online shop and catch our 20% off summer sale to deck yourself out in all sorts of NPR gear. Totes, hats, t-shirts, the works. Live your truth at a discount at shop.npr.org.
Welcome back for the second hour of Fate Mag Radio, the online voice of Fate magazine. I'm so glad that you're here. I have been having a really good time having a conversation with Kat Baldwin. She is a life, soul, and spiritual advisor, a deep trauma and residual life experience healer, and forgiveness facilitator. Let me tell you, that is not to be undervalued. As owner of... You know that's right. She's the owner of the Wellness Sanctuary and certified CHIOS. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Master teacher. You're the facilitator of CHIOS Energy Healing Certification and programming to heal the four-body system, mental, physical, emotional, and spiritual.
Yes, ma'am.
And not only that, you're a pretty fair author.
Hey, thanks.
Right? You know, I think that it's really wonderful because your forgiveness workshop from Higher Spirit, Self Spirit is amazing. And I have that. And your divine gifts of healing, your life, my life with spirit, I also have. So I have enjoyed your work. I love talking to you. When we had our first interview in July, I was just like, oh, you have to come back so soon. And here we are having just a great time. And, you know, I'm glad that you're here. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I appreciate it. It's nice to know how much you appreciate. I remember when I first talked to you, and I think you had read most of Divine Gifts of Healing. Mm-hmm. It's nice to be appreciated. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to be acknowledged when you channel work and you do things to benefit as many people as possible. But you know, it's a very niche market, and I don't usually hear from people if they read something, if they enjoyed it. So I appreciate it when somebody does do that. So thank you.
Oh, well, you're welcome, but you're who did all the work. So,
but you read it.
I
did.
Know?
That's what I want.
It's really, to me, it's really fun because from the moment we started talking, you know, we have a very closely synchronized background as far as from adolescence on.
Yep.
And, you know, it's really, to me, it's just been transformational to read your work. I have learned a lot from you, and I'm very fortunate in the work that I do because I do get to see a lot of writing. I get to speak with a lot of authors. I try to always take something from everything that I read, but yours just kind of clicked so well with my energy and experience that there was no doubt that I wanted to get to know you and speak with you about it.
Thank you.
So, thank you for putting all that into it. It's not easy to put yourself out there. I've been trying to do it for some time, and I just can't. I'm not ready yet to let go of some of the experiences that I need to share for people to understand. And when I'm ready to, I will.
Yeah.
I'm working on that. I'm doing some healing to be able to do that.
That's awesome. Yeah.
It helps, right?
When you're ready, you're ready. So there's no pressure, right? When you're ready, you're ready. All good. So I know when Divine Gifts of Healing, I've probably wanted to be an author my entire life. I was a kid, because of my background and all the yelling and screaming going on in my household, that I immersed myself as a reader. I mean, I was just such a sponge for knowledge, whatever I get my hands on, and started working on my crap when I was like 13 with,
it's
CDs.
a good escapism.
Yeah.
That's what I used it for. But I wrote then too.
Yeah.
And I wrote poetry.
Oh. Okay.
And my grandmother thought that I was plagiarizing. she said, "Well, go and I am not. I wrote that." And she said, "Go write me a poem." I said, "What do you want me to write about?" She said, "A bicycle." I said, "You got it." And I went in my room, and 5 minutes later, I came back with a poem about a dadgum bicycle. And she never harassed me about my poetry again.
Wow.
So, oh my gosh. And she was my hero, and I was her love, and it was really funny. But I always wanted to be an author, and I thought I'd write some big novels and stuff, but that was before I really stepped heavily onto a spiritual path. I can remember telling my mom, and this is just, God love her, this is just who my mom was, and I'd tell her, "Hey Mom, I'm going to write a book one day, and I'm going to be published, and it's going to be important work." And she'd look at me like, I think a couple times I even caught her saying to me, "Well, what makes you think you can do that?" But when I think about it, it's like, you know what? If my mother wasn't like that, it just drove me. When my mom would say stuff like that, it would just drive me to do it. And one time I had created a charitable organization for kids in junior high and this came out of nowhere. And this was before I was deeply rooted on my spiritual path. Came out of nowhere that I needed to create after school programming. This was before Columbine happened. After school programming in the junior high in my town, to work with the kids after school and just hang with them and play Frisbee and do homework and drive them home if they needed to, because a lot of them came from single parent families. And I did that for 7 years. And for nothing. I came home one day and I said, "Mom, you know what I'm going to do?" And she's like, "What?" I go, I'm going to obtain a 501c3 charitable organization status, and I'm going to create this organization and have, fundraisers and stuff for the kids in town, so that they could get what they need, because there's a lot of single parents and they need to be supported, and I think they're really struggling. Now, we're talking about 25 years ago when I did this, okay? Right.
She looked at me and she goes, "What the hell do you know about getting a 501 whatever it is? You never did that before." I'm like, "So?" "No, I've never done it before." "So?" She goes, "Well, you're not going to know. You don't know how to do that." I'm like, "Yeah, watch me." So sure enough.
Everybody starts not knowing how. That's a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
You just have to dig through it.
It was. I'm like, I don't care, whatever. It meant nothing to me. All that I needed was that status, because I did a lot of fundraisers. Had a couple of the Blackhawks do fundraisers with me, and I actually wanted to create a youth center in our town. But the mayor, and this is typical politics, I had gone on in front of the mayor and the board and everything. And this was right before this right before Columbine happened. And I said to him, I go, you know, we really need to, as a country, be able to have youth centers, you know, throughout the country to have after-school programming and support the kids and give them good direction and be sure that they've got what they need while they have a mother or a dad that's working 2 or 3 jobs, right? I was really passionate about it, and I didn't even know where that came from, okay? Sure enough, and he gave me a bunch of poo and blah, 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 right? And sure enough, a month later is when Columbine happened. So I went in front of the board again, and I'm like, if you think that this can't happen here in this little town in Illinois, you're sadly mistaken.
Absolutely.
This is what I was telling you. This is what I'm talking about. This is where we're heading. And now look where we're at. So again, you know, was it easy for me to really push and be who I know I was? I'm here, and I have been for the last 25 years of my life doing what I know I came here to do. Okay, I'm very blessed to be able to do that. I have so much gratitude that I get to do that every day of my life. But again, if it wasn't for my mom, you know, well, what makes you think you could do that? Or who do you think you are? Or, you know, I probably wouldn't have done it, right? I mean, if she was like all spongy-wungy and huggy-wuggy and, you know, I had this perfect life as Marsha Brady, you know, I wouldn't be who I am today. So I'm very grateful for it. I asked for it. I'm you know, yeah. So anyway, back to the book thing. When I wrote Divine Gifts of Healing, I knew I was going to write a book, and I kept putting it off, and I'm like, I don't know, you know, I don't know and then I had the near fatal car accident, right? So many things happened after that car accident, even at the hospital and with the nurses, and I was already very deeply rooted, you know, in channeling at that point in time. This was only 6 years ago, and that's when I knew. It's like after I started to recover, and it was such a miraculous recovery, you know, I knew I got to write this. I have to share this with people. I have to share with people what is possible for them, stepping into who they are, learning how to access their higher frequency self, moving out of this darkness. What does it take? What does it look like? And I think I wrote Divine Gifts of Healing My Life with Spirit so that people could see I'm just a normal average Joe, man. I mean, you see me on the street and I look like anybody else. I'm not some weirdo with some, you know, tinfoil helmet on my head, okay? I'm just a normal person that has been through hell in my life, that was seeking healing, seeking the lessons, doing the work to raise my vibrational frequency to a point where I could easily channel and hear everybody that was with me. And I didn't want anybody to be afraid to do that. And that's one of the main reasons for that book is don't be afraid to do that. Look at how, you know, Spirit covered me and they saved me. And it's like, they asked me, you want to stay here? Yeah, I have work to do. I'm going to stay. Okay. You know, near fatal. And within 2 months, I think it was 2.5 months later, I was back to teaching. It's unheard of.
That quickly.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was in the hospital 32 days of hell because somebody with high frequency going into that environment, I was struggling with depression because they had me on so many medications, and I don't do medication. And, you know, I wanted to share the whole experience with people. You know, am I saying that you shouldn't, you know, go to a doctor if you're not feeling good? I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, can we get you to a frequency where you can do preventative without exposing yourself to the medical field? I mean, they saved my life. I get it. I have the highest respect for the ER doctors and the nurses that just were tremendous to me. Okay. What I'm saying is if you eat properly, if you use essential oils, if you watch your thought process and what you're exposing yourself to, if you do energy work or go to a healer and get some life and soul advisement and direction and class and start to peel away those layers of the onion, right? Peel, right? Heal, and peel. What I wanted people to see is what's possible when you do that. Now, is everybody going to want to be like me? Hell no, I get it. Most people don't want to be like me because it's a big commitment. It's my entire life. It's what I'm here for. I wanted the responsibility. I'm honored to have the responsibility for humanity. I don't have a problem with it, okay? But I wanted people to see that when you're this immersed in a spiritual life, this is what's possible.
Yes.
You know what I mean? This is what's possible. Connecting to your ascended masters, connecting to your archangels, getting guidance every day, having a spiritual family. All the serendipity of life when you surrender to the flow and the divine flow of energy that is already your blueprint and just surrender to it and allow it and receive it. And this is what transpires, and then there's stories, because you asked me when you first talked to me, you love the stories about when I was doing CHIOS on people. And it is extremely high frequency modality. We use a lot of sacred geometry in it. Mine is even more powerful because Archangel Metatron is really the one that is assisting me in teaching. And it would blow my mind, Kat. I mean, I'll be working on people and I'm pulling off pieces of armor that I can see suits of armor on people from other lifetimes. I'm pulling swords out of people where they've had a pain in this particular area of their body this whole lifetime and nobody could ever find what the hell it was. I mean, it's so fascinating. And I know you know this. It's so fascinating. The levels of spirit that we are and how complex and how amazing we are in this journey. And
it's always surprising, though. I mean, I find it surprising because I don't know. It's just like when you talk about the armor and you still carry the protection with you.
Oh,
you
yeah.
Still carry the wounds with you. To me, it's always shocking that no matter how many times or how long you've been, that you still have that.
Yeah.
I mean, because we're not here just for one trip and go.
No.
Right? I mean, this is something that stays with us through the whole process.
Until we clear it, yes.
Yeah.
So it's healed and cleared, yes. It is with us through the whole process. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And it's for me, it was, and I haven't had those kinds of experiences in a long time. People now, what I'm working on now with people is just releasing so much childhood trauma and experiences that they have trapped emotions in their body.
Yes.
And of course, we all get triggered, and the key to that when you get triggered is to just step back and go, what the hell was that? Just step back and go, why did I react that way to that? And just really be with what you're feeling. And you'll get in touch with where that originated. I promise you, you will get in touch with where it originated. And you're going to be like, oh my God, that happened when I was like 5, right? And then you can look at it and you can heal it and breathe through it and love it and embrace it. And you can even energetically, you can change the energetic around the whole thing if you want.
Yes.
And that's that. So I've been doing a lot of work when I say that I'm a deep trauma and residual life experience healer. I work with people with deep trauma, such as, PTSD, but, people that have been sexually molested, for example, as children. Residual life experiences. Well, we all got those, okay?
Well, sure.
I mean, we're all living on the planet. We all got residual life experiences every damn day. I mean, and that stuff gets on you. I don't care what anybody tells me. It gets on you. You gotta wipe that stuff off. You gotta get it off of you, So what I've been experiencing for quite a long time now is, now that people are awakening to what's happening is those deep, deep, deep emotions that are just so buried. And usually, unless we release that, what ends up happening is it'll come out in the physical body. Because eventually that's what happens. Okay.
Well, it has to go somewhere.
Yeah. And that's the way of your body going, hello, excuse me, hello. You need to look at this, right?
Exactly.
Because when you do energy work, when you're working with the chakras, I'm sure you're aware that, the chakra system is all associated with all of the organs in the body. And when chakras are blocked, or they're not radiant, or they're full of garbage, or they're not, spinning the way they need to be spinning, if one's out, they're all out. And how much garbage is in? Oh, it's the truth.
Absolute fact.
One's out, they're all out, because they're one big energy stem. They all run off each other. So people don't understand that. And you come into an emotional situation, and it's somebody that deals with a lot of maybe, I don't know, let's take the solar plexus in the stomach. I have to say that probably a large percentage of people have issues with digestion. And a lot of that is, that particular center is about how you feel about yourself. So that can be influenced so easily by somebody just saying something to you off the cuff. And if you haven't cleared that, it immediately goes into your stomach, because there's fear, and I'm not good enough, and what are they saying about me? And what I'm noticing now, because of the increase in frequency on the planet, and you probably noticing this too, is when we have too aggressive of an emotion now, like anger or rage, or it's showing up like immediately in your body somewhere. That's what I'm noticing. I mean, like immediately within 10 minutes.
I will give you that. That's true.
It's like, wow. Okay. Because our whole lifetime, think about this, we're kids, we're teenagers, and all the anger that we had, and all the resentment that we had, that didn't show up back then. We shoved it down, right? I mean, we shoved it all down and we moved forward. But eventually that crap came up to the surface as we started to heal and work on ourselves, right?
Yes.
Now, if our frequency is high, and that's our commitment is to our personal healing, it's just blowing my mind how fast the body now says to you, look at that now and clear that out of here. I mean, like, it's blowing my mind. It's like almost immediate. And I'm like, holy.
Well, you can only tolerate so much. And if you're not clearing it, you're just going to be so overloaded. It has to be removed.
It has to be cleared. And I think that people don't realize this is, let's think about this, metaphysically. Let's think about heart disease metaphysically, right?
Absolutely.
So if you had a very painful life, and a life where you haven't felt loved, or you don't love yourself, and there's been a lot of heartache and heartbreak in your life, doesn't that explain heart disease? Oh, I would think so.
Sure does seem to, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, you're probably very familiar with, I really started to really connect to this metaphysical stuff when I first started reading Louise Hay. And I think I was like 15 years old. And the woman was amazing, so ahead of her time. And I still just adore her and miss her dearly. But she's the one that healed herself cancer. She's the one that figured out that her life experiences and how she was holding those in her body and what she was saying to herself about those life experiences created that cancer. And that's why it's so important to me when people come to me, and I usually do a life, soul, and a spiritual advisement. I sit with people for like an hour and a half, because then spirit will come in and channel stuff. But then they immediately go on the table and they get a treatment, get an energy clearing treatment. And I try and remove as much of that trapped emotion that I possibly can. But that's why I say that it's deep trauma, and I do, and you asked me about this too. I do something that nobody else does too. I do something called triadic vibrational healing.
Yes.
And people ask me about that. I'm like, look, when you come in to see me, I'll use CHIOS as a foundation, but there's so much that has been contributed by Ascended Masters and by my past lives as a healer that I have brought here that I'll use. I have a healer's bowl that is a certain frequency that I'll use on the chakras. You lay on a biomat, which is filled with amethyst and is a negative ion infrared mat while I'm working on you. I'm playing tonal music that is a certain frequency based upon what we're addressing, which is also helping me help you release what's there. Okay. And then I have, so that's the triadic thing. I'll put together 3 different things based on what somebody's dealing with that is all frequency based, so that we can get somebody back into balance and alignment. Because in my opinion, every dis-ease in somebody's body, and even emotional, is they're out of balance. Okay,
yes.
So they're out of energetic balance. Okay, so I'm basically using advisement and channeling to get down to that, and we discuss it. And then I'm using I even use a magnet to release emotional trauma sometimes down people's spine, because that's electromagnetic and your body is electromagnetic. So I'm working with the frequencies of the planet. I'm working with you as an electromagnetic frequency. And I think that is truly the medicine of the future, is energy medicine. There's no doubt in my mind about it. It's just a matter of, I think people are awakening to, there's a lot of damage that can be done with medication.
But this isn't, it's new to Western medicine.
Yes.
But this is not new
Nope.
in Eastern medicine. This is absolutely Buddhistic. It is absolutely ancient Chinese.
Absolutely.
It's, I mean, all of these practitioners over centuries, well, I mean, since time began, really.
Yep.
Because that was what they had. They recognized the power of the energy of the spirit.
Yes.
And the healing that is wrought through this is astounding, whether it's physical, spiritual, or mental.
Yep.
being and what you do kind of covers all of those.
Yes.
And that to me is just amazing.
You have to, because otherwise the chair, the stool is wobbly. Okay.
Right.
So
you have to treat it all.
You got to look at it all together, because it all feeds off of each other anyway. So, to get down to the deeply rooted emotional trauma or whatever is here or from the past, and then what are you saying about it? And maybe you're saying, maybe it's totally subconscious what you're saying about it. You're not even aware that it's still running in your background, because it happens with a lot of us, right? And then what's going on? Is it manifesting out into the physical body? Or what am I picking up when I go into the chakra system? What am I picking up in there? Am I picking up? I can virtually, when I'm working on somebody, usually pick up in a chakra what the incident was. Because Spirit will tell me. Spirit will tell me. This person's experienced this, or this person's experienced that. This is what's causing this in the chakra. And then we have a conversation about it when they're on the table, so that we can start to look at that and clear that energy. So yeah, I mean, that's Divine Gifts of Healing was really, after what I went through, it was just important to me for people to see what my life looks like, and that it's okay. Don't be afraid. There's nothing to be fearful. It is who you are. This is who you are. You've been told otherwise to take your power away from you. This is who we all are. And that's the point of that book. This is who we all are. It's not just Kat Baldwin. It's all of you. Everybody. Yes. Okay? This is what's possible. So you can get on that healing road and step into that higher essence, or it's okay. If you're fearful, you don't want to choose that. But if you choose it, this is what it looks like. And it's really pretty cool, and there's nothing to be afraid of, That was my point, was to show people this is what happens. This is how people's lives change when they start doing their work. You go from somebody who has had chronic throat issues since they were a child, and you get in there and you clear a throat chakra and you remove so much crap that's been in there for so many lifetimes, and then you find out that it's ancestral trauma. Yes. You find out, that it's multi-level trauma, because we actually exist in multiverses. It's past life and it's this lifetime. And when you can just clear that for somebody, and all of a sudden they get off the table, and I'm like, well, how's your throat? Oh my God, I don't feel anything. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, it doesn't hurt anymore. I'm like, okay, let me know in 24 hours how you feel. And I'll get a text. I'm still good. I can't believe it. I'm like, well, believe it, sister. It's important. It's important you believe it. It's important that you believe it, okay? Because you did that. I didn't do it. I just facilitated for you. You did it. You did it, okay? And that's the other thing people struggle with too, which people that really count on me. And I'm like, look, you don't get it. I'm just facilitating here, okay? It's your energy. It's your story. It's your work. And I'm just facilitating. You are the one that is releasing. You're the one that's taking this on. You're the one that's, accepting responsibility for your life. I'm just a facilitator. People laugh at me all the time. They come into my place and they're like, this is such a nice office. I feel so, the minute I walk in, they're so peaceful and loving and kind. I'm like, thank you. I go, but I'm just the facilitator here, okay? I mean, this belongs to the Ascended Masters and the Archangel. I'm just facilitating. I'm just the facilitator, that's all.
But,
and I'm happy to do it, I mean, it's fun.
A facilitator is a necessity.
I think so.
Until somebody evolves to the point of having the knowledge, skill set, openness to do it. And I can heal others, but I can't necessarily heal me. It's not, and I find that interesting because, you know, and the only time I've ever had a chakra alignment was when I went to Sedona for a day. And the woman that was that I was hoping to see was booked, so I saw someone completely different because she was who I was supposed to see.
Yes.
And she was already booked, and the woman that had booked her welcomed me to join them. And we all worked so well together that it was just a unusual thing. And then they were both very complimentary about me, to me. And I was just like, I just came for a chakra alignment. Yeah. I did not really do anything at all except enjoy both of you. But it was, I mean, they were almost like embarrassing me. And I just was like, well, thank you, but I'm the client here. You know, I'm just here for the party, kind of a thing.
Yeah.
And I didn't know why they were like that until much later. And it surprised me that the woman that was the other client was like that, because it just seemed unexpected. I'd never had anyone react to my energy like that. So it's happened since, as I've kind of matured a little bit with what I do. But it's interesting. You know,
amazing.
It's interesting that people recognize each other.
Yeah.
By their energy. I guess that was my first real experience with that happening. Because for the longest time I would laugh and say, I don't even know what I am. I'm just here and I enjoy life and I make people comfortable. You know. And there's more to it than that, but it took me a while to find it out. But we have to take our last break. So we will be back. And for all of our listeners, y'all come back too. Final segment is almost always the best. So we'll see you on the flip side.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experience Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Oh, come on. I'm Southern, but... nope. That'll do. Hello. I am Kat Hobson, host of Paranormal Experience here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting out of Birmingham, Alabama. I enjoy having guests from all areas of the paranormal, from ghosts to ufology to cryptids and beyond. You'll find some of the best researchers in their fields bringing you some great information. Join me on Wednesday nights from 8 to 10 p. Eastern here on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Since 1948, Fate magazine has brought you reports of the strange and unknown, all of them true. Fate Radio is carrying on that tradition, bringing you the unusual, macabre, strange, and bizarre. Join host Kat Hobson Sunday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern on WBHM Digital Broadcasting.
Listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk, only on Paranormal Experienced Radio, broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Welcome back for the final segment of Fate Mag Radio, and I have been having the best conversation. I have Kat Baldwin here, who is she's so many things, but you are so many things. But I'm sitting here, I'm on the www.wellnesssanctuary.net. That's where you can go to find out about what she does and schedule with her should you want to do that.
Really?
I am so impressed with her writing. The Forgiveness Workshop from Higher Self Spirit, hand in hand with Divine Gifts of Healing, My Life with Spirit. So check those out. You can go to her publisher, Ozark Mountain Publishing, or you can find them on
Barnes and Noble,
You
too.
can find them everywhere.
Barnes and Noble carries my books.
Yes.
You can actually, I believe, order them. I think I have the links on my website on the author tab.
Uh-huh.
And the thing that's great about my books too is they're only like $13. You know, so it's not like, and they're fast reads. That's the other thing.
They are.
Everybody
They're
always
fast
says
reads and plenty of time to go back and reference them as you need to.
they're like 100 pages or so, something like that. I remember when I was writing this first one, it's 97 pages. And I said to Spirit, I'm like, man, you guys, don't you think that we ought to make these more pages? I mean, this is like nothing. And they're like, nope. I said, why not?
Just the facts, ma'am.
Yeah, they're like, no. We want people to read it from cover to cover. We don't want them to put it down. We don't want them to forget about it. We don't want them to not finish. So if you make it short enough, they'll read the whole thing. I'm like, oh.
I did.
Yeah.
They were
And
logical.
it is. It's an easy read. I mean, Forgiveness Workshop can be very confrontational. If you're not ready to let go of stuff, if you're not ready to take responsibility, if you want to keep being a victim and remain in a martyr mode, it is an extremely confronting book, and you're not going to like it, and you probably read the first 5 pages and put it down. All I can tell you is if you do that, I promise you that eventually you will be ready for that level of work. So don't get rid of that book. Just put it somewhere, and you'll probably return to it when you're ready to make that change. That's all,
Well, a lot of times, based on the title, people may not understand what they're getting.
Yeah, I'm sure they don't.
And so being willing to step up and say, oh yeah, my bad, I did that. It's really hard to accept that, I had a very hard time accepting that I could possibly have made a soul contract with someone to treat me like this. Right?
Yep.
I struggled with that.
Yep.
And so it does take some introspection and some understanding that comes with time. Once you are exposed to that idea, if you're not into doing metaphysical things yourself, it's a whole thought process to be able to accept responsibility for somebody else's, what you perceive as somebody else's behavior.
Right.
When actually it was joint effort to have this experience.
Has to be.
Yes.
How else can it happen? There has to be 2.
Yeah.
It just be 1. You participated, and we all agreed to participate in those things.
Well, but if you if you don't have the background to be open to that idea, A, you probably wouldn't know where to go to find this book, but B, people struggle with releasing victimhood because they cannot comprehend a world in which they would bring this on themselves as a growth thing.
Yeah.
And so that was my struggle. I was like, I was a kid. I did not possibly choose this. Well, not as a kid. I did not. All right.
Correct.
So,
yeah.
So I think that's where most people come at this with an issue.
I think
you have
so.
to wrap
Yeah.
your mind around it.
And I do understand that. And I think the thing that I've had to deal with that has been the most difficult is, and I'm still kind of maneuvering my way around it with certain people that I work with, is, when somebody has been violated as a child by a family member, and they come to me and start doing all this work, and they get to the forgiveness. And, I can imagine, well, I really can't because I haven't experienced it, but I'm sure that it is probably the most difficult thing to attempt to use the forgiveness formula to try and understand or take responsibility that you asked for that before you came here. Okay. Now I get that. I get how deeply disturbing that could be to somebody. And there are some differences in when that happens too. Sometimes your soul group, somebody in the soul group, made an agreement that they would stop that from happening to stop the cycle before it hit you, and they failed to do so. Okay? That happens too. So I understand that there are things that can happen in your life that are very traumatic, very difficult to come from the forgiveness formula to work that in that way. I get it, And I want to tell people too, because I am so blessed when Spirit brings me a soul, no matter what they're working on, no matter what level they're at, I feel such a blessing. And I want people to know, you don't have to come to my office in Illinois. I do life, soul, and spiritual advisement on a phone call. I can do energy work long distance. We can work through all this stuff. You can read a chapter and we can have a call. Don't stop yourself from the healing process or make an excuse for starting your healing process or not starting it, which is fear-based, because you don't think that you could sit in front of me in Illinois in my office. That's all I'm asking. Okay? We can do this. Anybody can do this. You just have to be willing. You have to be willing. That's all. And that's it. The rewards are, I can't even begin to tell you. I mean, how would you like to just have so much joy and so much freedom and so much growth and expansion of who you are, and really getting, wow, I am unbelievable. Who I am, and my spark of divinity, and wow, when people really get it and you see it in their eyes, and it's like, yay, yay, you're no longer being influenced by all the crap that was put all over and spread all over us our whole lives. We got you past that point, and it's just it's infinite possibility from there, right?
Liberation.
This is infinite possibilities now, because you're no longer trapped inside of that conversation that you were having. That's gone, okay? So what is left there is possibility. What are you going to create today? Who are you going to be when you wake up? It's all infinite possibility. And don't let anybody tell you that it's not, because it is. And you are that powerful of a person. And that's all there is to it. You are that powerful.
Absolutely. One of my favorite lines this is on your website, and it's live a fully expressed life of heart-based love, light, peace, and joy.
Yeah.
And there are so many people who don't even know that's a possibility.
No, they don't believe it's a possibility.
They don't believe it because they don't believe that they can get out from what they feel is oppression.
Yes.
That's actually something you can be liberated from. That's why I call that sensation a liberation.
Yeah.
You know, because they come to you, they trust you, but they're probably still very, this probably does work, but, you know, I just have too much, it just won't work on me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, they try and talk themselves out of it, yeah.
Right. And there's no way this could possibly, you know, work for me. I'm too damaged, I have too much whatever. And so when it does work, it's just kind of a, well, check this out. You know, I just envision that.
Yeah.
So
pretty cool, I'll tell you. You know.
Yeah, it is.
It's pretty nice to have somebody come to you, and when they walk in your door, they're looking at their feet, you know, and within maybe a month or so of doing some heavy digging and some releasing, and they walk in the door and they're looking at you right in the eyes. It's like, wow, okay, I'm liking this, you know. Get those eyeballs off the floor and get them up here and look at me.
Absolutely, and that's because, you know, when they won't look at you, they don't feel worthy. And when you can clear and heal and work together to achieve that, and they know it's happened, then not worthy goes right out the window, because they know that they are released.
Fighting.
Just
I love it. It is beautiful.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, we are just about out of time. Why don't you tell people where to find you and all that good stuff?
I guess probably what you said. I think if you just go to wellnesssanctuary.net, you can find me there. There's a contact form there too on the first page. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of reading, and I don't care. You know, educate yourself. Read all my pages. It'll tell you everything that I do, and I go into it so that you have an understanding of what I'm offering to you. So wellnesssanctuary.net has 3 S's, by the way. I know.
That's true.
It does.
We'll
I am on
Facebook when you're typing it.
Yeah. So yeah, watch what you're typing when you're typing it. And I am on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. All that other hoo-ha, you know. All that other stuff.
All the hoo-ha.
All that hoo-ha. I want people to know too that if they buy Forgiveness Workshop and they're working through it and they need help, you know, that's what I'm here for. If they get to a section and they're like, what? I just can't get over this hump. I can't deal with this. That's what I'm here for. Okay. That's why I have Forgiveness Workshop. That's why I do it in my office with people, because we'll do the work and then somebody will get stuck and we all talk about it together, you know? So don't hesitate to get that book and start working it, because if you need me, I'm here, and you can text me, and we can work through whatever roadblock you come to. That's all.
Well, that is handy for people to know.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a problem. You're not on your own. I'm right here. You know, I ain't going nowhere either. Not for a long time.
and trust me when I say she's very easy to communicate with. And she's very positive in supporting her books and supporting her clients. And I just think that I would recommend these to anyone. And if you decide that you want to go further and have a session with her, I would do it in a heartbeat. What you hear here is what you get.
Oh, yeah.
She is who she is.
Oh, yeah. That I am. And it's okay for some people.
Much to somebody's chagrin, but we're not going to worry about that.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you for being here, Kat. I have just enjoyed you.
Me too. I like talking to you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, it was my pleasure. Absolute pleasure.
I'll come looking for you in a few months. Send you an email.
Just let me know.
See how you're doing, okay?
I will be around.
Me too.
Yeah. So we'll probably talk a good bit.
Okay.
I feel confident in that.
Sounds good.
And for everyone listening tonight, I hope that you enjoyed this as much as I did. If you're listening live or through podcast, we just hope that you got what you needed from this conversation, because I felt compelled to do it. She did too. Someone out there needed this show. And I love when I get that feeling.
Amen.
So, have a great week. Enjoy your days. And you know what? Come back next week. Same cat time, same cat channel. And we're going to do it again. Have a great night, everyone. And thank you for being here. Good night. Oh, I can't go. I have something I have to say. I do this every week, Kat, and this is basically my philosophy on life. If you do not like the world that you see around you, then fix it. You'll find this also on the Wellness Sanctuary homepage, which I just realized. But be the change that you want to see in this world. If you don't like your environment, if you don't feel like people are communicating, you be that person. Make eye contact. Smile. Do what it takes to feel like you are where you're supposed to be.
Absolutely.
And that you can help others. When you do this, it's not just a you thing.
Nope.
Everybody in the world right now is dealing with some form of confusion, lack of understanding, fear of the wars that are everywhere. Ukraine is the biggest bang out there, but there are tribal wars all over the globe. Smaller ones where people are killed, women are taken, children are taken, and just put some energy to that, to changing that, to helping. You'd be surprised. You're so powerful. We all are. So just be that change you want to see. Manifest that stuff. You got this. So now, go out and have a great week. And we will see you next time here on Fate Mag Radio. Have a good evening.
You are listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, Birmingham, Alabama.